Welcome everybody back into Nerd Sesh. As always, I'm Carson Brabbert. Alongside me is Logan Camden, and we were not live on Sunday night as we usually are throughout the NFL season because this was not a normal weekend for the Nerd Sesh fellas. Logan went to the Steelers game. I am now in a new closet. And Logan, you're thinking over there, well, haven't you been in there your entire life? To which I would say, first of all, stop projecting. Second of all, what do you care? I mean, what year is this? 1952 in your mind?
Look, man, I'm not a bigot or a misogynist, or I don't go against people and their sexual orientations, bro. So you know what? You do you, Carson. I love you, man. I love you for the person you are.
Well, what I mean when I say I'm in a new closet is that I've moved. And I'm in a new jail
no, I got
cell.
that. No, you didn't have to elaborate. I got that, man.
Well,
also,
you were doing all sorts of implications and projections, by the way, which I found to be very barbaric and archaic, as if it would matter anyways. But you know who I've said your player comp is? A certain Colonel Lockjaw from the new hit film One Battle After Another. That's really a character based on you.
I don't even get that reference, man.
Yeah, he's a good guy. You'd like him a lot. I think you'd be very happy with that reference if you saw the film. And I think everybody who's watching this, who's seen the film, goes, yep, that's Logan Camden right in the frickin' flesh. We are going to talk about some football today, Logan. And we are each going to give 5 takeaways from NFL Week 6. If you don't mind, I think I'll take the lead here because my Buffalo Bills played another primetime game this week, and my Buffalo Bills laid another egg in primetime and took a bad loss. And not just a bad loss, we just saw the worst game the Bills have played in over a year. It was definitely the worst game they've played since the Week 4 ass-kicking they took against the Ravens last year. And it may have been worse than that, just because it felt like this was more self-inflicted. Last year was a terrible performance, but the Ravens also just played a dominant football game. The Atlanta Falcons absolutely did not do that in this one. They are not the caliber of football team that should be beating the Buffalo Bills by 2 scores, certainly under any circumstances. And yet this was just really a disaster end to end for Buffalo. So we can kind of go phase by phase here and just unpack how truly awful it was. In the first half, the Bills defense plays one of the worst halves of football you will ever see. They allow 335 yards of offense. The run defense was abysmal. They allowed Atlanta to force feed Drake London, despite the fact that they're down a couple receivers and he's clearly far and away their number one target easily. Penix is just able to get to his go-to guy over and over again and pick up yardage in chunks. The only potential good play the Bills defense had in the first half really was a fumble on the opening play. That was wiped off the board by an offsides penalty, and they were a Drake London foot away from letting up 28 points in the first half, including one of the most embarrassing touchdowns of the season on the final play of the half. And again, it's just pure dumb luck, and I guess you give a little bit of credit to the effort of Taron Johnson, I believe it was, for forcing Drake London to step out of bounds at the half-yard line. But it was just a disgusting display from the defense in the first half. Meanwhile, on offense, Josh Allen is playing his worst half in his worst game in ages. He was inaccurate. He was not making very good decisions. He was not in sync with his receivers. The play calling was awful. There was one play I just hated. They call a fake screen quarterback draw on 2nd and 10. It goes nowhere. The theme of the half and the game was the Falcons dialing up these aggressive pressures, tons of blitzes, which has been their identity this entire season. The team that previously for years had been unable to generate a pass rush, they found a way to do it this year, and it's by sending extra rushers over and over again. And the brilliant Bills offense just had no counters to that over and over again, even though they knew that was the look that was coming in every big spot. That was a disaster. The protection wasn't as good as usual. There were numerous spots where Josh is seeing a free rusher. They weren't running the ball well early, and on top of this, they were down Kincaid. They were without Josh Palmer after he went down with an injury early in this game, and he was actually the only guy who made a couple plays early on. And when you did have a decent opportunity offensively, you get yourself to 3rd and 3 at midfield, down 7-21. This is a drive where you need to get something going. You need to put points on the board. Your defense has been a disaster. You're certainly not going to trust them to get stops at this point with how they were playing. Josh misses an easy throw over the middle. He's out of sync with Darryl Shavers, but also it was poor ball placement no matter what. And then 4th and 3 midfield. This is a spot where, in my mind, 100% you go. You need to put points on the board on this drive. You have to trust your MVP superstar quarterback, your offense, which is by far the strength of your football team overall. And Sean McDermott punts, as he always does in these remotely debatable spots, because he's a coward and he's not nearly aggressive enough and he's just not a good football coach. Then, end of the half, you get one final push opportunity, 20 seconds or so on the clock. Maybe you can get a field goal on the board. What do they do with that? Josh presses. He throws an interception, which should have resulted in Falcons points, if not for, again, the miracle of Drake London stepping out of bounds. So first half, pretty much everything went wrong in every possible way on both sides of the ball. And you look up and you're only down 14 and you're getting the ball to start the second half. So you think somehow we have been given another life here and maybe we have an opportunity to win this football game. And first drive of the second half, they get the run game going. They get the quick passing game in rhythm. It's the Bills offense at their best where they're not having to do anything special. The yards are coming easy and consistently. It's an easy march for a score. Then the defense steps up. The DBs start making some plays. They had really struggled in the first half in coverage, but you've got some more active play from those guys, better coverage. The big boys up front make a couple plays. So the defense is playing better. Now it's the time for the offense to strike here, get you back in the game. But you have another crucial miss from Josh on 4th and 2 when the Bills actually did go for it, as they obviously should have. He tries to flip it to Ty Johnson, just underthrows him. Ty can't get back to the ball. Then you're given another chance. You get a field goal block. Shout out Greg Rousseau. He's actually the one guy who makes a play for this football team. Kind of a miraculous play, especially for the Bills, who never seem to make impact special teams plays. Now you got another chance to tie it up. Put the ball in your quarterback's hands, your MVP's hands. Trust your offense. And still, they're just sputtering. The play calling still doesn't make sense. They start going away from first down handoffs to James Cook, which just doesn't make sense to me when James Cook was so effective when he did get the ball in the second half of this game. Like, that should have been their identity. It should have been a go-to that first down, you are starting a series, you are starting a drive by seeing if you can pick up 7, 8 easy yards on the ground, low risk. And they didn't do that. And Josh was still struggling versus the blitz. And you start really feeling your lack of high-end receiver talent in this game, where you just feel like there's very few players who you trust in terms of the receiving core. It's Shakir. And other than that, everybody's pretty damn inconsistent with Kincaid and Palmer out. And then you get a chance. You get to 3rd and 1 at midfield. 11 minutes left. Down 7. This is a huge drive and a huge moment. What's the play call? An end around to Elijah Moore. He fumbles the handoff. He goes backwards 4 yards. By the way, the Bills, inexplicably this year, despite having like the best short yardage packages available to them, probably outside of the Philadelphia Eagles, have been obsessed with these end arounds. If it's to Elijah Moore, if it's to a tight end, Dawson Knox fumbled one of these end arounds last week. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It's bad play calling, and it costs them there. And so now you're 4th and 5. I still probably would have gone just to trust my offense. I know that I can only expect my defense to get so many more stops. I don't know how many more possessions there's going to be in this football game, but by going backwards on what should have been a spot where you have 2 plays to go a yard with Josh Allen and James Cook in this offensive line, now you make it much scarier to go for it. McDermott is a coward and he punts again. You get the ball one more time. What do you do with it? You don't give the ball to James Cook on first down. Straight drop back, sack, 2nd down. You know the blitz is coming. You check to a screen. You get the ball out quickly. Somehow that still gets swallowed up. 3rd and 10, there's nothing there. It's just over and over again. The offense was given opportunities, given the ball more times than they probably ever could have expected after how the first half went defensively. The defense gave them chances in the second half, and they squandered every single one of them. And then finally, the defensive run runs out, and they just get slowly bled to death. And even on that last Falcons drive, the Bills defense had a couple chances to make plays. They had a spot where Atlanta got behind the sticks, false start, 2nd and 9. You've got him, Joey Bosa, best pass rush of the game from him probably, and it's just a total broken coverage. Trey White loses Bijan Robinson. It's an easy completion. And then even more backbreaking, Shaq Thompson makes a play, jumps a route. The Falcons put the ball in Michael Penix's hands down the stretch, and they said, okay, slam the door shut. And he made a couple nice throws, and I think they caught the Bills off guard definitely by throwing the football in a couple of those spots instead of just running it down their throat. And Shaq Thompson just straight up has an opportunity for an easy interception, potentially a pick six, and he drops it. So I am walking you guys through the game so thoroughly, and I know that we hit on basically every drive there, because it's truly unbelievable to me how bad the Bills were at so many different moments in this game while they were given so many lifelines. Like, I would like to give the Falcons more credit for an upset here, and we will talk about the couple things that they did well. But they did a lot of things to potentially piss this game away as well. And when you give Josh Allen and the Bills offense that many chances to score in a football game, they just have to do that, and you expect them to do it a vast majority of the time, and they just did not in this one. Josh was awful. It's the worst game that he's played in even longer than it's the worst game the Bills have played. Like, I can't think of the last game that Josh played that was this bad. Immediately, my mind goes to the 4-turnover game against the Jets week 1, 2023. Last year, he did not play a game this bad. This is so far below his standard. And this performance is so far below the Bills' standards. And I'd like to say, oh, well, this is an outlier because this is the worst game the Bills have played in so long, and it's the worst game Josh has played in even longer. But guess what? The reality is they've been playing below their standards all year. The offense has struggled to get the same sort of rhythm that I would expect from them. They've had some of these dumb mistakes, turnovers last couple weeks, penalties last few weeks. And the defense, even though they played well for a good stretch of the second half, you look up and it's like they still allowed 210 rushing yards and 6.6 yards per carry in this game. And that's consistent with the fact that they've been the worst run defense in football. They are 30th in rushing yards allowed per game. They are 31st in rushing yards per attempt allowed. They're allowing almost 6 yards per carry. So you can't look at this and say it's a one-off. Yes, it is exceptionally bad for the Bills this year. But if you go game by game, week 1, the Bills looked bad for 3 quarters. The defense looked embarrassingly bad. And then they won because of a Josh miracle game, him just having one of those special career-defining performances. And then they sleptwalked to wins against the Jets and the Dolphins and the Saints. I didn't think they looked very good in any of those games, especially the latter two. Those were very underwhelming, closer than they should have been against Miami and New Orleans, 2 bottom dwellers. And then you play 2 decent teams in the Patriots and the Falcons, and you lose to both of them. So I know this is a long rant, but I am just so disappointed in the Bills. And you understand that when you look around the NFL right now, nobody is great, so you can't write the Bills off, but they need this bye week that is coming up right now so badly. And they need to lock the hell in, because this just does not look like the team that last year won 12 of their last 13 games when Josh played, before they lost, of course, a heartbreaker to the Chiefs, because that's how every season ends, but was playing genuinely elite dominant football for so much of the year. They're just not doing that right now. They're sleepwalking past the really bad teams in a fashion that's a little too close for comfort. And when they face legitimate competition, they're just folding up right now.
I mean, you should be really disappointed. The Bills need to get their head out of their ass. I mean, you add this along to a Patriots loss that could end up having some, ramifications down the line if the Bills keep playing with their food. The Patriots are tied for first place, or they tied in terms of record, but they have the tiebreaker because they beat Buffalo head-to-head. And all the stuff you're talking about, Carson. Also, excuse my voice, man, on a podcast. Aaron Rodgers had me screaming the other day.
Hell
and,
yeah.
I'm
waving that
sore.
terrible towel. Twerking in the stands. I love it.
It's fucking fired
Logan,
up, man.
The Pittsburgh Steelers have a better record than the Buffalo Bills. Congratulations. Who saw that
It's
one
fucking
coming?
unreal, man. I can't believe that shit. But, dude, all the stuff you're talking about, Carson, it's frustrating because it's like a caricature of all of the Bills' losses of recent memory, and not even the Josh stuff. I don't want to absolve Josh because this was a bad Josh game, but, like, that's the anomaly, right? Like, that's the one thing that went wrong that maybe you wouldn't expect to. But, and I'm not even getting on you with this because I'm just disappointed with so many teams. Like, that's why I couldn't have the Bills number 1 in my power rankings. And don't get me wrong, I put the bad juju on everybody I've put number 1, but Buffalo gets got here. Like, the run defense. The defense is a fucking joke right now, Carson. Yeah. Like, Bijan and Drake London torched him. And I get all the injuries, man. Benford's out, Bernard's out, Milano's out. Like, that's not even mentioning the offense. Honestly, dude, we can come back to another thing that I know we've been talking about it feels like the entirety of the Josh Allen era. It's like for Sean McDermott to be proclaimed as a defensive mastermind, bro, why does the defense always get trounced on, bro? I get it, man. Injuries. There's no excuse for a performance like this, dude. What the hell were y'all doing all week? This is a Monday night football game. Y'all got an extra day to get ready, and y'all are letting Michael Penix carve y'all up. It's all of the traditional tropes of a Bills loss, man. It is a lack of aggression from Sean McDermott, who you calling, he's a pussy, man. You don't play scare football, McDermott. How many times do you got to lose a football game like this before you go for it? I'm tired of seeing him let opportunities bypass him near midfield punting when you have the best quarterback in football under center. Why on 3rd and 1 are you calling end arounds when you should put the ball in the hands of either one of the best running backs in the game or the best quarterback in the game? I'm frustrated for you, man. And so I don't have any solutions. I don't know there's not like a quick, easy fix to me. This is a disaster, an embarrassing loss. Like, one of my notes was, I really do think the Bills should try to make a trade for a superstar wide receiver before the deadline. And I think, maybe that makes some kind of difference. It doesn't. We were talking about something. You had a good comp, one of our other shows. You said something about the ultimate flex tape, man. I don't think there's a flex tape for this, man. This is not a crack. This is a burst pipe, dude. Like, this is there's something fundamentally wrong, man. And I'm disappointed for you. Buffalo played with their food. And look, Atlanta played a really, not a great game. I want to give credit to Bijan in London because that's what ultimately wins this for them. And the defense made plays. Atlanta didn't play like a shit game, but Buffalo played down to their competition again. And that's kind of the point. And I'm tired of seeing it, man. This isn't championship level, stuff from Buffalo. This is far from it. This is get bounced in the first round stuff from Buffalo.
When you play down to your competition every week, Logan, you just got to start to wonder, how good are you really? Now, I do think the Bills are better than they have shown up to this point on the season, but it's consistently been underwhelming to disappointing to infuriatingly bad. Now, there are certain elements of this loss that are characteristic of when things go wrong with the Bills, right? Like, the run defense is just absolutely atrocious. That was a problem last year, a big problem. That was a big problem 2 years ago. Ed Oliver returns for this game. He just doesn't change the dynamics there enough. And yes, we can talk about injuries. Matt Milano's a very good run defender, but ultimately, the Bills just lack a lot of those big physical difference makers up front. They are like the ultimate live-in nickel defense. I mean, even before this was the zeitgeist around the entire NFL, the Bills were one of the most nickel-heavy teams. And so they're just consistently kind of small, and they're a terrible tackling team this year. And it's not just that. They're a terrible tackling team. They're also allowing the most yards before contact on the ground per carry was the stat that they said on the broadcast. So you're getting gashed in terms of the push up front, and then when it comes to make plays in open field, when it comes to bring guys to the ground, you can't do that either. And so it's just so easy for teams to march on you. Like, again, it's so easy to write off the Saints game and say, oh, it's a 12-point win against New Orleans. Who really cares? Well, the Saints were setting records for yards after contact on the ground in that game. That does matter. And so when you face a Bijan Robinson, it matters a little bit more because it can be the difference. That's my biggest concern about the Bills this season. That's not the biggest problem in this game, though. And that's not the biggest problem in this 2-game skid. Yes, the defense has been bad, but you've allowed 47 points in 2 games. You've put up 34. There is no excuse for the Bills to be putting up 34 points in 2 games. So I do put this game on Josh. Absolutely. I do put this game on the offense. Joe Brady, who I have been grateful for, who I think has mostly been a very good OC for the Bills. I just do not like what he's doing with this football team right now. I hated how he called this game. I understand you're down a couple guys, but one of the most frustrating things to me has been the obsession with limiting James Cook's usage. As James Cook, when he touches the football, is one of the best guys in the NFL this year in terms of skill position players. Logan, you look at his snap count compared to the other best of the best, it's hilarious. Jonathan Taylor plays 82% of snaps. CMC, 85%. Bijan, 75%. Saquon, 83%. James Cook, 62%. 62% of the team's offensive snaps. And it's like, yeah, man, Ty Johnson is a good third down back. He's good in the pass game. He's good in pass protection. He's a good receiving back. But to be taking James Cook off the field for almost 40% of your plays is insanity to me. And again, I thought that they should have gone to him even more in the second half of this game. And then there's just some execution stuff that has been uncharacteristically bad for the Bills on offense these last 2 weeks. This team, Logan, last year had the fewest turnovers in a season in NFL history. They had 8 all year. They won the turnover margin for 25 straight games. Back-to-back games now, multiple turnovers, some of them really stupid, and they've lost the turnover margin in back-to-back games. And the other way in which they're shooting themselves in the foot is with penalties. It wasn't as bad in this game, but that was terrible against the Patriots. And overall, last 3 games, they've got 30 penalties. So it's incredibly sloppy football from this team that should have the easiest formula offensively. They should be able to get major push up front and grind you up on the ground and be super efficient in the passing game. That's what they were last year, and it's how they marched to 3 points per drive, and they became one of 6 offenses this century to do that. That potential is still all there. Absolutely. In fact, this offense could be a little better than it was last year. I think James Cook has been playing even better. I think Kincaid has been playing better. He's out for this game, but it's super frustrating when you're underachieving there. So if you ask me what's my outlook for the Bills at this point, some people are going to overreact to this in a sense, where I think some people will do their Bills are cooked, Bills are maybe going to miss the playoffs. That's just not going to happen. They're going to win like 12 games. The schedule is light. The offense has too much potential, and the Bills have won 11 plus games every year since 2020. I'm going to need to see them not do that before I buy into any actual panic mode. But they're just all out of sorts right now, and they need to get in form immediately. I do think the offense will look significantly better. The defense, I don't really have much hope with. But if the offense had played up to their potential, the Bills could be 6-0 right now. So I guess you could consider that a silver lining, but I don't think there's really silver linings to be had with this team. They should be 6-0. When you look at the teams that they've played on paper, like if they're taking care of business like they were last year, that's where they would be.
They should be. And you're kind of hitting on a crucial theme about why it's so disappointing for Buffalo this season. It's the fact that the NFL does feel so wide open. It feels like there's a ring to be, grabbed by some team out there, and it's like nobody wants it. It's like we're all just going to keep tumbling down this hill all together, and nobody's going to find their footing. And I think you also hit on another big thing, man. The expectations for Buffalo is different. It's not like this is a team that's just trying to crack the playoffs. This is a team that's continually hit their head on the ceiling every single year, and it's like, when is shit going to change? I do think there is a silver lining, Carson. You hit on it. You got Josh Allen. You got James Cook. You got a pretty great offensive line. Like, the talent is all there, and you figure that's a really solid recipe to win you a couple playoff games. But the standard is different, and again, this is not a team that is playing up to – this is not a team that's going to overachieve their expectations, even as how bad as the rest of the league is, man. This doesn't feel like a team that's ready to – go compete for a Super Bowl, which, again, is the expectation for this team. The AFC title game is not going to do it. The goalposts have moved. This is a team that is sick and fucking tired of losing in the playoffs and in the AFC title game. It's time to wake up, capitalize on the weakness of the rest of the league, and finish the job. And they're in disarray right now. So I don't think the Bills are cooked, man. I agree with you. I think this team's going to be in the playoffs. They're still scary. I wouldn't want to see Buffalo in the damn playoffs. Josh Allen frightens me, frankly.
Yeah.
But they don't look right now. There's 11 weeks left, man. Can the offense become elite? Can they become one of the best units in football? And can the defense just be average? Those are the big questions for Buffalo. I think they should make a move, man. I get that. I don't know. I don't think that's the ultimate fix. I want to be clear about that. I don't think getting a game-changing wideout is going to magically fix all of Buffalo's issues. But I did feel like that was a pretty big difference in this game, too, where you look on the other side. One, like you said, Joe Brady, just unlock James Cook, man. Bijan is crushing the defense on the other side of the ball. You have a difference maker, and it's like you're scared to unleash him. But then you see a guy like Drake London, who's a top 10 wide receiver in football. And
Whoa.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, top 10. The league's talented. I don't think that's ridiculous to say.
I just think there's a lot of dudes you want to call a top 10 receiver. And then
Yeah,
you look
this
at how
might
many
be a
insane
top 10
receivers
defender
are
kind of situation.
in the NBA. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's just so many good talent. But I genuinely think that might be more true for receivers than like any conversation ever, because the talent at that position right now is unbelievable.
I mean, he's league's better than anything Buffalo's got. No
For
hate.
sure.
Again, I don't think that's just a quick fix for this team, but it does feel like that would help. I do put a lot of this on Josh, but I expect Josh to look better. Hopefully, Joe Brady puts a ball in his hands and they can come together. But they're far apart right now, and I'll tell you, I mean, Buffalo has fallen in my power rankings. I was excited, man. I wanted to juice them up this week. I just couldn't do it.
No, of course not. I mean, it was a disgusting football game they played. And like you said, I guess you can take solace in the fact that if you look around the league, nobody's played 6 great games. I don't really know that anybody's played 5 great games. Like, there is a lot of sloppiness and inconsistency even at the top of the NFL this year. There's nobody you can look at and say they've played 6 great offensive games, because I've been just beating the drum of the Bills are the best offensive football. The Bills are the best offensive football. Well, they certainly haven't looked like it these last 2 weeks. But also, the Lions are the other team you'd put up there. The Lions have had 2 terrible offensive games. Like, it certainly does not excuse what is going on in Buffalo
Tampa
right
Bay.
now, because it's a lot of mediocrity by their standards. Tampa hasn't had 5 great offensive games. Tampa's first couple games offensively, like we've talked about this,
I mean,
they
you
kind of just
said
escaped with
nobody
the clutch
has.
drives. Yeah.
I mean, I think Tampa's the best offense in football right now.
Right now, or you think they will be when they're fully healthy?
I look at it as a combination of both. I mean, that's interrelated with the take I have later, but kind of both. I'll get to that.
Well, I don't think that they are right now. I mean, they've definitely hit their stride these last couple games, and Baker's been playing fantastic football these last 2 games. But I can definitely see the case when you're talking about fully healthy offensive line, fully healthy weapons in the run game and the pass game. They definitely have the firepower to do that. But the Bills have also the firepower to do that. And we can talk about the number 1 receiver thing, and I hear where you're coming from. There are moments where you feel the absence of that, and yet the Bills were able to be a top 2 offense in football last year without one. Like, I don't think it's essential for this team. I really don't. I just think they need to execute a lot better, stop shooting themselves in the foot in dumb ways, and Josh Allen needs to play like the Josh Allen that we've seen for years, the Josh Allen that we saw last year when he played the best football of his life. All of that stuff I do think is going to come together. The defense is another question entirely. But this one is on the offense. And for the Falcons, look, Bijan is as good as they come at the running back position. We know that. And I do want to give credit to Jeff Ulbrich for really figuring out a way to generate an actual pass rush here. That had been the Achilles heel of this Falcons team for years. This year, they are number 7 in pressure rate coming into this game. That might be even higher now because they were just living in the Bills' backfield. And they're number 1 in blitz rate. So it is certainly coming because of their major aggression. And blitzing this much does make me a little nervous. I don't think you want to be overly reliant on we have to blitz you to get pressure, because I think oftentimes the best of the best quarterbacks can figure that out over the course of a game if they know it's coming. That being said, Josh Allen and the Bills certainly did not figure it out over the course of a game. So it's certainly working better than the alternatives did. And look, they got their asses beat 30-0 by Carolina, and they've responded since then with 2 wins. So if you're Atlanta, I think you feel good about this, but I do think it was a lot more about the Bills just taking a massive shit on the field.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think this is an encouraging game. Penix looked solid. There were moments, like you were mentioning earlier, but there's a ton of offensive talent, and when Penix can get the ball to the playmakers, man, and Bijan, I think, is the best running back in football right now, at least this point in the season. I mean, he's certainly playing like it. Like, he has looked so dynamic this season.
Over your boy JT?
It's close. Him and JT are fucking monsters, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's close.
I would probably take Bijan as the best running back. Like, he hasn't quite had JT's production this year, especially in terms of touchdowns, but I think when you compile traits, individual level, like, they both have very good offensive lines, but I think the Colts' offensive line is better, and so I think there's been a little bit more help there. And also, I mean, the Colts' overall offense, there's just a much more threatening passing game right there. The Falcons really rely on Bijan to do a lot for them, and he's doing it for the most part.
Agreed. And I think Atlanta's will have an outside shot at the playoffs if they can keep this up. I would probably say that I think Atlanta's going to miss it just barely. I think the NFC is pretty tough, but they could be there. It's really going to be how Penix looks. Penix is interesting to me, man. I feel like when the first read's there and like he can get it going, like he's good, but when you take away that first read, sometimes he can struggle a little bit. I'm still trying to figure out like what my exact. I don't know. I'm doing this whole Tua thing with Penix. Like, is he how much better is he than Tua? I think he's like a little bit better, but I don't know. It's a mixed bag with Penix.
He's got a lot more arm talent, that's for sure. But also with his mechanics, you get some real inconsistencies in terms of accuracy. And like you say, I do think he can be iffy with some of the decision making and processing if you do force him to go past his first read. So there's just been some funkiness with him, with the Falcons passing attack. There's been some high highs. There's been some low lows. I think that was the case within this game, honestly. I think that's been the case throughout this season, and that's been the case when Penix has been on the field. I mean, going back to when he got the starting job late last year. So I really think the jury is still out with him. He's pretty interesting. He's a little too up and down for me to like be in on, but the great Theo Ash came on our podcast and wrote him off after a game that he had not watched a snap of. And so that was a bold take, and I wasn't there with him then, and I'm still not. I think Penix is definitely an interesting guy to watch going forward to see if he really is a guy. But Logan, we saw a battle between two quarterbacks from that same draft class who I would say were a fair bit more confident in their status as guys. We had the Monday Night Football doubleheader this week. Everybody's favorite, not mine personally. I don't like it. I don't think it's necessary. The NFL just continues to shove more of them down our throats, though. So what did you take away from this battle, Logan, reversing last year's story, which was the crazy last-second Commanders win over the Bears? This time, it's the Bears winning at the last second.
Yeah, shout out Jake Moody and his redemption arc, man. You got to feel good for that guy.
I would have not given him a call this week. So good for the Bears for doing it, I guess.
I might have put in Caleb to kick that field goal at the end. I did not think he was going to make that, man. I thought he was going to break it.
Yeah, I had a feeling in my stomach, but I was wrong.
This game, it felt like neither of these teams wanted it, man. Like, I think, I can't remember who was on the call, if it was Aikman or Buck, what crew was on it, but somebody said it. They were like, whoever lost this game was going to feel like they left it on the table. I mean, for the Commanders, 3 turnovers, and they're all bad, especially that last one where you feel like this was a game where the Commanders, this is how they win. They're going to run the clock out. They're just going to strangle you into submission. You're not going to touch the ball again, and boom, Jaden muffs that snap, coughs it up, and that's the difference. On the other 2 turnovers, obviously, but Chicago had a bunch of stuff that they left out there. Zacchaeus has a huge drop when they're in their own territory. They could have maybe swung the field. He could have taken that thing to the house. Moody has a blocked field goal. Earlier in this game, there's a procedural penalty that takes away a touchdown. It was strange. I'm trying to figure out if I'm still in on the Commanders, man. I'm really trying to determine where they should be in my contender hierarchy too. Like, I liked a lot of the stuff you saw from them in this game, and I love the offensive line. I think they are really solid. I think they have such a great running game and a great formula. They go on these long drives too in this game, like crucial ones where Jaden's leading them down, big plays to Luke McCaffrey, and yet they needed to finish. They needed to handle business, man, and they don't. They're so close in this one. I don't think the Commanders are phony. And right now, dude, I think Washington is still going to win the NFC East. I think that's my take right now. I don't think it's going to be Dallas. I think Philly's going to slip up, and I think Washington's going to get them this year. I'm just saying Dallas because, I mean, fuck, dude, Dak and that offense could get them close. Who knows? Like, Dak's doing some superhuman stuff in Dallas right now, but
the score 30 points per game, allow 31 points per game formula, I don't know that it can win you a division. It's got him at 2-3-1 right now.
And get him close. I think Dak can get him close. I'm just so out on Philly, man. We'll get to that in a little bit.
That's bold.
You think so? I don't think I like Washington a lot more right now than I like Philly, man.
Philly obviously has major concerns that need to be worked out offensively. I still think they have the potential to do it to a reasonable enough extent where it's like, all right, they're still just too talented as a football team and they're just going to find their way to 12 wins or whatever. And they've got a game up early in the year.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to die betting on Jaden, man. I think I'm just going to die on that hill.
I hate to see you
And
go.
I thought it was a mixed bag from Caleb tonight. Caleb has steadily looked a little bit better and better, but I feel like a broken record when I'm talking about Caleb Williams, man. It is all the little stuff with him, dude. He's so talented. It's get rid of the football, man. Stop holding on for it so long. Know when you need to move in the pocket and not try to dance so long, like all that extra stuff. But I thought he played a pretty good game tonight and ultimately puts him in position where they get the field goal at the end. I'm disappointed with Washington, but this is another resilient win for Chicago, and I think I was excited the way they got the running game going today too. I thought Swift had a really good game, and if they can help Caleb out there, I think this team will hit their stride. Chicago's going to be better this year. They're figuring it out, man. They're working out the kinks. I think because this could have been a convincing win for them if they just didn't play with their food. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Chicago could have put up 35 points in this game if they hadn't played around. So I think this is a good win for Chicago, and there's some encouraging things to take away, especially the play of Swift. But this felt like a missed opportunity for Washington, man. Like, the 3 turnovers really came back to bite them on the ass, especially the last one with Jaden and Bill.
Yeah, Chicago's in a really interesting spot right now because start the year 0-2, tough loss to the Vikings, obviously blew that one, and then you get blown out by the Lions, and it feels like everybody's kind of on the verge of hitting the panic button with them, or maybe they are hitting the panic button, and then you come back, convincing win over the Cowboys, you get away with one last second against the Raiders, now you get away with another one here, but it's very significant for them to get 3 straight wins at this point in the season because there was so much noise picking up after those first couple games. How good are they actually? I really don't know that we can say. I think they're pretty average. Defensively, they've made big plays this year. They've got 12 takeaways on the year now. I really don't know how sustainable that is. And other than that, I don't know what this defense does well. I mean, they have gotten marched on the ground. They have been one of the least effective pass defenses if you take away the takeaways. So they're definitely living on those a little bit more than I would like. Offensively, absolutely the most significant thing in this game is that they do get the run game going like they did because that's going to be massive for them going forward. They had struggled to run the ball early in the year for the most part, and they were just able to cruise in that way today, and DeAndre Swift was making plays in the passing game too, and you just take a little bit off of Caleb's plate. But overall, I think you got to feel good about the Bears. Like, you go in, you get a quality road win here. Caleb has been playing overall absolutely better than he was last year. And when it comes to executing some of these early drives, the scripted stuff, I think he's been quite good. I think overall he's been a fair bit better under pressure this year than last year. And he was already quite good at taking care of the football in terms of not throwing picks last year. But when you consider like overall not taking negative plays, obviously the offensive line is much better, but cutting way, way down on the number of sacks that he's taken while keeping those interception numbers very low. Like, he's just been an efficient, pretty good quarterback this year. Yes, I agree. I would like to see some more consistency with the simple stuff, processing, accuracy. But overall, I think you're getting a version of Caleb Williams that you should feel good about, and a Bears offense that you should feel pretty good about. It's going to hinge on the run game and how much they can continue to establish that. But overall, they've done a nice job of turning their season around early, and I think you give a lot of credit to Ben Johnson for that. And they've just made big plays when they've needed to. Ultimately, I think definitely the Commanders are the better, scarier football team, but they've also got some flaws of theirs. That being said, if it's not for a couple of bad turnovers, really by Jaden, like obviously the just muffed handoff at the end of the game to Bill, that's just kind of unfortunate circumstances. But the pick He threw that ball very late to Debo, and that was a good play by Brisker to undercut that, but that's very costly when you're in a potential scoring position and you take points off the board for your team. So I think it's fair to put a decent bit of this one on him, but also you know what an offensive engine he is for this team overall. And yeah, I think you should feel good about the Commanders, but I don't know that I feel good enough about them to say that I would think they're going to win the NFC East, because I definitely think that's still going to be the Eagles.
You and me get into that one. I'm out on Philly, bro. I'm done.
You're done with Philly. You're out. Well, give me your take on that then. Let's segue. Let's hear it, because they did get doubled up by the New York Football Giants on Thursday. We can't forget about that just because it happened a few days earlier.
Yeah, I mean, they're just not going to win a playoff game at this rate, and I don't think they're going to win the East. I don't think this offense is nowhere nearly good enough. I mean, I gave them the kiss of death 2 weeks ago. I've been money right there. They lost week 5. They lose on a short one against the Giants.
When Logan says he's been money, he means that if he puts a team at number 1 in his contender rankings, they crumble.
Oh, yeah, I got him this week, too. I got some people who probably going to be mad. I hope I get them, though, because I did it on purpose. I left teams I liked out of the number 1 spot.
Wow, you sick puppy.
What if I just put the Dallas Cowboys number 1 is jokes?
No, it would be a win. It would be a win for the community no matter what, because it would mean Dak Prescott respect. Honestly, Dak Prescott worship. You'd be worshiping at his feet, and can I tell you something? He would deserve it. And I know how much you love feet, Logan.
Philly, right now, these are all offensively. They are 15th in points per game, league average. They're 20th in EPA per play, 30th in total yards, and they are 24th in pass yards per attempt, 28th in rushing yards per attempt, and they are number 27 in terms of third down offense. And their playmakers just aren't that involved, man. Saquon Barkley, the tied 7th fewest yards per carry by a running back this season. Jalen Hurts, you mentioned this last week, as the 5th highest sack rate in football. They're incapable of moving the ball, man. And, I just think offense is more valuable in the NFL today. I think it is more likely that you get into a shootout where you need to put up points than it is that you can manufacture a defensive slog where you can tush-push your way to victory. And I feel like anytime Philadelphia is not running a tush-push, I have zero confidence in them moving the ball. Jalen Hurts has been horrible outside of one half with Los Angeles. And let me be clear about something when I'm being critical of Jalen Hurts. You know who I think's fault this is? I don't even know the guy's fucking name because I don't think his name is worth knowing. The offensive coordinator for the Eagles. I don't know who it is. I think he is horrible at his job. It doesn't make sense that a team that was so dynamic last year, the reason I don't put this on Hurts, I've seen Hurts play great in big games. I saw it in the playoffs last year, and I don't think he was great end-to-end. I think he was pretty damn inconsistent. But I've seen Hurts turn it up. I've seen Hurts have great games. I've seen all of the offensive talent on this team get involved, and it's just not happening. There is so much here. The offensive line, Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. The bottom line to me is you look at the variable change, and you've gone from an offensive coordinator who knew how to use these guys to a guy who doesn't. I think they need to make a change, man. I don't think it's a talent issue, Carson. I think it is and it's hard. It's hard when Hurts has had so many different offensive coordinators over, the last 3-4 years. It's tough adjusting to new offensive systems. I just don't think it works. Again, kind of like the Bills. The silver lining for Philadelphia is you've got the guys in the room, and you have 11 weeks of football to figure this shit out and get ready. I just haven't seen any signs of life. I haven't seen anything encouraging. This offense is disjointed. They are... Would you argue if I said they've been a bottom 10 unit in football offensively?
No.
I think they've been bad.
They have been. They have objectively been a bottom 10 offense in football.
Yeah, I'm no longer defense. Let's play in some grimy football games. That shit's not going to work now, man. You got to put up points. You got to move the ball. You got to have long drives. You got to get first downs. Eagles offense ain't got it. And so when I'm looking at the NFC East, I'm going to bet on the better offensive engine, the better quarterback, and I'm going to bet on the better offense. And there is no doubt in my mind that is the Washington Commanders. And so, yeah, right now I'm taking Washington to win the division. I'm taking Washington to win a playoff game or two. I I get it. They lose a close one against Chicago. I have more confidence in them being able to put up points against anybody and to move the ball, and I just think that's more important. And I'm just tired of Philly, man.
It's hard for me to be nearly as out on Philly as you are, when although their offensive problems right now are definitely more dire than they've ever been, we have seen them go through these lulls in the passing game specifically before. We saw it last year. Now, the run game struggling to get going like it has is a different beast for sure. And I do think that Patullo has been bad for them. I think he has lacked creativity as a play caller, absolutely. I think some of the route concepts just don't make a ton of sense. And that is definitely a factor here. We have seen the Eagles' offense really undulate with their play calling. If you have a great guy like Steichen, well, then the offense is booming. If you go to a Brian Johnson, well, then the offense is much more pedestrian. Kellen Moore, he's really good. The offense looks really good again. And now you're back to a guy who I don't like. They're definitely struggling, and they are definitely coordinator dependent. However, I don't think that we can just give Hurts a cop-out here. Like, I think that you have absolutely seen his limitations be a problem for this team and this offense this year. Specifically, what I think is getting exposed.
I mean, he was horrible in this game against the Giants, man.
Horrible. And consistently, he's been underwhelming. And to me, it really comes down to his one major limitation, which is his processing. He is just not good at quickly and decisively reading the field and throwing the football downfield. And particularly because of that, he struggles a lot against zone, where it's a little bit more difficult to decipher what looks you're getting. It's not so much just, okay, let me trust my playmakers one-on-one, not as many scrambling opportunities. In terms of EPA per dropback versus zone, he ranks 28th of 34 qualified quarterbacks, Logan, towards the absolute bottom. And one of the consequences of him not being able to make quick decisions with the football, struggling to read the field, is he holds onto the ball for a really long time. And that's where you get some of the high sack numbers from Jalen Hurts, which have been a major problem for him this year, particularly against zone, where he's got almost a 10% sack rate. That's 32nd among qualified quarterbacks, because he's got the second longest time to throw against zone. So he's just like absolutely towards the bottom of the league in all of those different numbers when you look at how he fares versus zone coverage. And I think it speaks to his major issue as a quarterback. And then in this one, you've got a couple more just like really bad plays where he misses a throw on what should be a layup, like 90-yard touchdown. Devontae Smith has burned his man. He's wide open. He misses him. He stares down an out route late in this game and throws a bad pick that then gets a long return for the Giants. So, like, he was very bad in this game for multiple reasons. But I do think you have seen how he does limit this offense when you aren't putting him in great positions to succeed with elite pass protection, where I think they've been a little bit worse this year, with an elite run game, which they had last year and they have not had this year, and with a play caller who is maybe struggling to draw these elite receiving weapons open as much as they should. But there's a lot of things going wrong here. I definitely think Hurts is a part of it. And I do think that the Eagles offense is very concerningly bad. But as you said, they have the talent in the room, in the organization. We've seen them snap out of some of these dry spells. And so I still think there's too much talent here to bail on them. When, again, this is a potential cop-out for everybody. But it's like, if everybody's struggling early in the year, nobody's really falling that far behind the pack. And there comes a point where, like, you do just sort of want to bank on who you've seen prove themselves as a great team before, and the Eagles have done that. That being said, the major reason behind their greatness last year was this absolutely dominant defense, best in football, and I think what's maybe getting lost as we talk about their offensive issues, which have been major, is that the defense hasn't been as great this year. They're 25th in rushing yards allowed per attempt. They're 20th in points allowed per drive, 22nd in yards allowed per drive, and they've struggled offensively. They've been outgained significantly in every single game this year. So yes, they started 4-0, but the red flags were always there, and they've just gotten bigger and more concerning in these last couple games. So I'm with you. I'm worried about Philly. I guess I'm just not as worried about them as you are compared to everybody else when I see these major flaws with pretty much every team in football right now. Because, Logan, we're reaching a point where I probably feel more confident in a team that is 3-3 than anybody else. That says a lot about what kind of a start this season has gotten off to. Honestly, I can't remember anything quite like it in that way. But I'm talking about the Kansas City Chiefs, man. I thought they just looked fantastic in their win over Detroit. And specifically, it's the offense that sells me, that I'm so confident in. Since Xavier Worthy got on the field, they've just been dynamic. They've been phenomenal on that side of the ball. 32 points per game, 404 yards per game in the 3 games since he returned. And this was something I was pretty adamant about, holding out with panic about the Chiefs and specifically their offense until we saw Worthy and Rashee Rice back out there. We haven't even seen Rashee Rice, the number 1 receiver for this team. And yet the offense looks clearly like the best we've seen in Kansas City since 2022. Mahomes is playing extremely well, but also like he's just got more weapons to play with, and particularly the major speed that you have on this team with Worthy, of course, with Tyquan Thornton, with Hollywood Brown. It's a level up from what the Chiefs have had. And also, I think their offensive line is legitimately really good. I think the pass protection for Mahomes has been very good this season. He's been one of the least pressured quarterbacks in football. So they're doing a lot great in the passing attack. That's not a surprise, and that'll just get better when Rashee Rice is back out there. What has been impressive and more unexpected is the last 2 weeks, they've really run the ball better. I don't know how much I can buy into that. We've talked about just how underwhelming and not talented their running back room is, how they can rely on the run game too much for my liking when they have Patrick Mahomes in this dynamic passing attack. So I'm not going to say that I'm sold on the run game, but it's definitely been trending in the right direction. And at full strength, this passing attack is going to be right up there for the best in football. So like anybody, they've got their question marks. They've got their weaknesses. There's a reason that they've dropped 3 games already. Yes, they've played a lot of good teams early in the year, but 3-3 is not a super inspiring record on paper. But I do think you consider the context, the competition, who they have been missing, and how they've been looking as of late. And it's hard not to view them at least as like clearly a top 2 team in the AFC. And by the way, I still think the Bills are a top 2 team in the AFC. I just think these teams are too good, too talented. The offensive formulas are too great for them compared to everybody else. Their consistency over the years, it's like too much for me to not bank on. But I would go even further, and I would say right now I do trust them the most in the conference. But like the Bills, I think it's going to come down to their defense. More so, honestly. That's where I have more questions about the Chiefs this year, and I think they've looked pretty average overall. They have not been a great unit in terms of defending the run for the most part. The pass rush has just kind of been okay, but they did play a good game versus Detroit. They do have Spags. They do have a couple superstars on that side of the ball. So you understand Detroit was banged up defensively. They were missing a lot of guys, a lot of injuries, and they very much struggled because of that. But I still thought it's one of the most impressive wins of the season, and it kind of feels like everybody else just is taking a nosedive. And maybe the theme is whichever team you think is good that actually has one great win, they just vault to number 1 in your rankings because everybody else who you thought was really good that week probably took a bad loss to the Atlanta Falcons or something like that, or the New York Giants.
Yeah, I would hear an argument for just about anybody, I think, at this point. I'm with you. I bailed on the Chiefs too quick after the Chargers-Chiefs game. I was ready for the Chargers to take that throne. They've had some bad injury luck on their part, too. Yeah. Their offensive line is completely decimated, so they look different. But the Chiefs' offense really does look dynamic, and I kind of feel foolish for ever betting against it all on the Grim Reaper. You're talking about the running game looking better too, man. The best running game is a good passing game. If you're really dominant on one side, it just opens up that other dimension where it's really hard to defend. I think that's the counter. And so Mahomes still leads his team in rushing. I think that's pretty funny, even though Hunt and Pacheco got going. He's a beast. And I'm with you, man. I think Mahomes could have another really big career year. And who knows? This could be the best offense in football. I think that's maybe a good bet to make right now at this point in the season if you're looking like long-term once Rashee Rice gets back, because they have looked dynamic, man. And I kind of got to take interrelated with what you've been talking about the league as a whole.
Yeah. Real quick on the Chiefs. I think the offense is great. I think it's going to continue to be even greater with Rashee Rice back out there. I do still think the two best offenses in football should be the Lions and the Bills. I don't know what the hell to do with the Ravens once Lamar is back out there. So they certainly have the potential to be that. Those were the three best offenses last year. And the reason I say that is just because of dominance in the trenches, at the line of scrimmage, the dominant run game that Detroit and Buffalo have, and they still have elite passing attacks. I mean, it's to another level with the Bills compared to Detroit just because of the quarterback play factor. They have the easiest formulas, the most balance between the pass and the run game, being elite at both. But right now, Kansas City's pass game, it's leading to better offense these last 3 weeks than you've gotten from Detroit or Buffalo, and a lot of that is just because of superior quarterback play. Patrick Mahomes has just been better than Josh Allen in recent weeks, and so if that changes for Buffalo, then yeah, they've got the formula to be the better offense, and for what it's worth, I do think that is going to happen, but the Chiefs are humming more than anybody else right now, and it's because Patrick Mahomes has been pretty flawless with the exception of a pick six that he threw against the Jags. But let's hear your take about this Mad Max NFL that we're looking at, Logan. This survivor hellscape. Everybody's in a desert. Nobody's got any pants on. Nobody knows what's going on, and it's just do what you can to stay alive another day.
Let's go.
Well, I know that's always been your kind of vibe, Logan, and your kind of mojo.
Also, dude, I did some extensive research on that lockjaw fella.
Yeah.
What the fuck, man?
We already did this. We already did this in a TikTok, Logan. In the Nerd Sesh multiverse, you have to be consistent. It's all canon. It's all connected, so we can't redo the same bits, even though I know I'm the one who started this. Yeah, man. That's your player comp. Sorry. It's the way it is. Dude, it's a great movie, by the way. I don't know why you haven't seen it. I've seen it twice.
You kind of remind me of a young Chick Hicks, bro.
That's really not nearly as bad a comparison as
honestly,
Lockjaw,
bro, you kind of remind me of like a young Mr. Waternoose, you know?
You remind me a lot of the villain of the movie Ants. You ever seen that one?
Damn! He's a dick.
Well, he's a little more than a dick, yeah. He's a real bad guy.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this one short and sweet. I got no idea who's going to win the Super Bowl. You could tell me any team from the AFC, any team from the NFC, and I go, yeah, I could see it. I don't know, man. This is the most befuddled, confused I've ever been at this point in the NFL season. I can remember in my life. Like, I don't know. I would hear so many different teams in the top 10. Like, this is just kind of a mixed take. Like, is this just like the most parody we've ever seen? Does everybody just suck? I'm trying to figure out what conclusion exactly to draw here, but all I'm saying is basically, I am in a desert. I don't have any pants on. I lost my map. There's no water. I'm delirious. Send help.
And if you saw a mirage, and if it was me painting you on fire, and we were locked in strong eye contact, and we were speaking French because, of course, we were two French women of the 16th century. I forgot to mention that. And we're both in big flowing dresses. Now, how would you react to a mirage like that? Artistically, would that excite you?
Yeah, I'd probably pull out my pack of Marlboro Reds and spark one.
Damn, that's hard as hell. That is tough as hell. I agree with what you're saying in every way, Logan. It's crazy. Some are saying they may not give out a Super Bowl this year. Some are saying the Lombardi has been canceled and Lombardi is rolling in his grave, and he's saying what's happening here, and the Tom Brady, everybody's mediocre now take, the ultimate pessimist take, it was proven right. No, I don't think that. But I do think that you look at a guy like Matt Sponauer, hope core, optimist to his core, came on here and tried to tell us, ooh, look at all these great teams in the NFL. We sat here and we said, no, there's no great teams this year. And I want to be clear. I can't think of a year I have said that. In the NFL, like recent years in the NBA, like pretty much always there's somebody who meets my criteria for being a great team. But when everybody out there has a major weakness of some kind, and everybody out there who you think should be among the best of the best has had multiple letdown performances early in the year, it's like, look, man, it would take a lot for you to really convince me the Colts are the best team in football. Even if up to this point in the year, the Colts have the best resume in football. Like, I just can't get there. Maybe I've got too many biases for my preconceived notions, but I'm going to continue to think that when it comes down to it, it's going to come down to one of the Chiefs or the Bills or the Eagles or the Lions or the Packers. Like, for the most part, these teams that coming into the year, I thought, yeah, they've got elite talent. They've produced at an elite level before. They've got that potential on both sides of the ball. But right now, we're not seeing anybody click with that level on both sides of the ball. And we're seeing inconsistency and bad losses and ups and downs across the board. So I completely agree. I can't think of a year like this in recent memory. Like, when was the last time that we didn't have an unbeaten team by the end of week 5? I can't think of it. I'll just say that right now. I'm going to guess it's been a really long time that you don't have a single 5-0 team. And now the two teams that were 4-0, the last two undefeated teams standing, they're now both 4-2. Like, it's mayhem in the streets, Logan. Gotham is burning, and the last man standing is, I don't know, probably going to be Patrick Mahomes once again, because among chaos, he always seems to emerge.
2014, Cardinals and Bengals were the last undefeated teams dropping in week 5. So 2014.
Great research, Logan. Thank God we've got you in our research department. Yeah. Year after that, Bengals started 8-0, didn't they? How about those Cincinnati Bengals? They knew how to get off to a start. They certainly did not know how to finish the year. Shout out Marv Lewis. Shout out Andy Dalton. Let's stay negative here, Logan, because your point is absolutely more important just about the overarching vibe and state of the top of the league right now. And we'll get a little bit more into that when we do our contender rankings, because it's really up in the air right now. But if there's one game that you watched this week, and I think you should feel bad about both teams after it, it was Broncos-Jets. Just a shit show of a football game, super ugly end to end. And look, it's not a surprise from the Jets. I know there was some optimism for them coming into the year. Aaron Glenn, new culture, Justin Fields. Justin Fields is just cooked. He's so bad. And I know there are some people who want to say, oh, he's not the problem. There's bad stuff around him. And there is bad stuff around him. But Jesus Christ, dude. Negative net passing yards in this game, Logan. -10. You're our research guy. See if you can find when the last time that happened was with a player who started and played 4 quarters of a football game, because I would bet it's been a long time, and I would bet that we're not going to see it again this season. But he's just so damn limited as a processor, as a drop back passer. He can't read NFL defenses, really. And it turns out that's a major problem. So I know you've been something of a Fields optimist because he lit a bit of a fire under the Steelers fan base last year, and he won some games, and he played the best football of his career. But ultimately, there's a reason that it was justified to bench him for Russell Wilson.
You're not going to believe this.
Right now he's falling apart. Tell me.
1998, you want to guess who the quarterback was?
Holy shit. I mean, part of me just wants to say, for magic's sake, it's Nerd Sesh. It could be Vinny. But I kind of want to say Kerry Collins, maybe. I don't know. You had to take a lot of sack.
These are good guesses.
And those are guys who,
this one,
look, they started forever, and they had a lot of really bad games mixed in there.
Wow.
Lay it on me. Brother, I'm ready.
Not a shocker. Ryan Leaf. Dude, this is the worst game maybe I've ever seen. 1 of 15.
Rookie Ryan Leaf. Why wouldn't I have guessed
4
that?
yards, 2 picks, 2 sacks for -23 yards. This was the beginning of the end for Ryan Leaf. Before that, wow, Justin Fields, you were in some great company, my friend. Before 98, you have to go back to 1987.
Do we get a Kim McQuilkin game?
Wow. Yes, there is a Kim McQuilkin game. 76. He is on here.
Come on now. The woe of all woes. Yeah, whenever you're in conversations with Ryan Leaf, on or off the field, you want to get out of those conversations immediately, because Mark Sanchez is next, and that's just not somewhere that you want to be whatsoever. So, unfortunately, Jets fans, JETS, just end the season. As they like to say, it's more concerning for me for the team that actually won the football game, the Denver Broncos, just because I saw some people really hyping them up after they beat Philly, and that was a great win, but it did feel to me like a lot of people who had been super high on the Broncos in the preseason wanted to cash in on some optimism and the best moment of the year for them up to that point, and I still just don't see them as a legit playoff threat. I think this was one of the worst offensive performances we'll see from a team that wins all season. Now, they did induce the worst offensive performance we'll see from a team all year, period, by the Jets. Again, negative net passing yards from Fields, 82 total yards of offense. And overall, I just don't think we'll see a worse game of offense this year. After the first quarter, Logan, the two offenses combined scored 2 field goals on 18 drives. I mean, it was 3-and-out city. If you love punts, you love this game. If you like anything else, you probably hated this game. If you're a fan of either of these teams, you probably wanted to hurt yourself physically. So with the Broncos offense just like barely limping past them in this game, I know that they have their moments, but I just can't see them scaring anybody in the playoffs. With Bo 22nd in net yards per pass attempt, 26th in completion percentage over expected. Under pressure, he's got a passer rating of 49. He's been one of the worst in football under pressure in back-to-back years now. I just think even though Peyton is really good and the line is great and Cortland Sutton is a playmaker and the running back play is better, that level of volatility and the low lows that you get with Bo at the quarterback position, it's just too much of a concern for me. But look, they've got a very good formula to get into the playoffs. The defense is amazing. It is the best in the NFL. But the offense is still just not good, and I can't look past that when it's consistently been the limiting factor for this Denver team ever since they got interesting last year.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. Bo Nix doesn't scare me. This offense doesn't scare me. And in a league where you need to put up points, I just don't trust them to do it in a big spot. I'm completely aligned with you, man. The Broncos have left me completely uninspired. You know, I mean, I think I was wrong when we had Matt on. I said I thought the Browns' defense is the best unit. I can say it's Denver's defense for sure. I'm with you guys, but I think they're doomed. I mean, it was our take last year. Denver has a very narrow range of outcomes, I feel. And the first one is missing out on the playoffs just barely. I don't think that's going to happen. The next one is you win one playoff game and you get bounced in the second round. You know, it's somewhere in between there. And just sucks because this team is very talented. But this offense is just not good enough to do any real damage or strike any fear into a team in the AFC, man.
High floor, low ceiling,
Literally.
The Denver Broncos story. Give me another takeaway, Logan. Lay one on me. I know you've got a couple more of them. You're a take machine.
I do. If you were a fan of this team, I think you should be excited. I think the Steelers are going to win the AFC North. I've been saying this now for about 2 weeks that I was in on Pittsburgh. I was very skeptical, but the Ravens have given up ground. They're 1-5. I will say, since he doesn't scare me in terms of they're going to win the division, but damn, I don't want to play Joe Flacco, man.
What?
Thursday night football, bro. That's going to be a close game. Cincy is going to keep that one close. I can tell you right now. Joe Flacco still scares me, as old as he is, man.
Well, look, man, I just don't think the Steelers are really built to beat up on anybody. I don't think the Steelers have been built to beat up on anybody
Precisely.
in a long time. I mean,
that's their thing.
Yeah, so you're right. I mean, they could get got, but I don't think anybody has any reason to be scared about the Bengals, who are 29th in scoring offense and 30th in scoring defense. Yes, they do have Flacco now, but he is
in a big context. Flacco. I'm just saying for this Thursday night game that's coming up.
Oh yeah, something weird could happen.
Yeah,
they could definitely lose that game.
I've been impressed with Pittsburgh. First, the defensive turnaround has been impressive to me with Pittsburgh. TJ is locked in. I don't think he's Defensive Player of the Year, but he is damn sure still in those conversations. He's looked really good. With Alexander Highsmith out, Nick Herbig has been fully unleashed and unlocked, and I think, may sound crazy as good as Highsmith is, I would play Herbig. I think he's better. Herbig is a dog, and I think he's a little more versatile than Highsmith, too. I like that, you can line him up at inside linebacker, you can line him up at edge, and he's a beast, man. Little TJ. Derek Harmon has gotten healthy on the defensive line. I think he's made a big difference for this team with Cam aging. Like, they need a difference maker up front, and he's been that. So shout out to the defense for looking better. I'm not too high on them. I know Mike Tomlin. I know what Mike Tomlin defenses look like on a big stage. It's much like how Sean McDermott defenses look like on a big stage. So I'm not going to hold my breath on the defense. Offensively, I will say, I think they figured something out, and it has been something that I have been saying, I don't know, for 4 or 5 years now, that they just need to put all the big guys on the field at once. The heavy sets on offense, I think, have been a real difference maker for Pittsburgh. So for people who don't know, the personnel that I'm going to point to here, the first digit is the amount of running backs on the field. The second digit is the tight ends on the field. And 13 personnel, they have been running 13 personnel 13.6% of the time. League average is 4.7%. That is number one in the NFL. They have lined up with more three tight end sets.
Number two, Logan. I'm going to say the Bills are probably number two for that.
That is exactly right. They are.
Nice.
It's a pretty decent margin, but the Bills are second. And then you look at them in 12 personnel. They line up 39.7% of the time in 12 personnel. That is the fourth highest mark in the NFL. League average is 24%. So Pittsburgh is finally leaning into things that are helping this offense work. One, they just have three starting caliber tight ends. Who would have thunk it, man? Let's put them all on the field together. Fryermuth is a good blocker. Darnell is a fucking weapon. Pittsburgh, finally you have played the 6'7", 270-pound guy, and he's pushing guys up front. Who would have thought, man? Oh, my gosh, I can't believe I did it. That's going to go
physical
viral.
Measurements.
That's going to go viral.
I think it is. This could be our big break, Logan. I mean, this could really be it for us. I could get out of this closet. I'll be a freaking mansion in Bel Air, 6'7". Me and LaMelo just smoking dope. Chains around our necks. Big robe. We're wearing one big robe, the two of us. We could do sort of a bit where it's like a guy standing on another guy's shoulder, and maybe we could get into bars like that. Neither of us have identification. We're of age, but we just don't have the proper paperwork and documentation.
That's crazy, dude. Hanging out with LaMelo Ball. He's 6'7". That's cool as fuck, dude.
Yeah, it's kind of a dream.
Anyways, not only are they just really good players that should be on the field more, what this does is it gimmicks up this offense to where they can actually protect Rodgers and they can actually run the ball. And the Steelers aren't uber effective at either side. And honestly, I want to give Rodgers and Arthur Smith a ton of credit for how resilient they've been without Calvin Austin. I don't know if they're going to make a deal for a second wide receiver. DK is our offense right now. Like, he is the only guy getting in the end zone. There's nobody else making plays on the outside of this offense other than DK. But when you're running these heavy sets, it allows them to get more push up front and actually run the ball with Jaylen Warren. And it actually allows them to protect Rodgers up front. And I think this is the best scheme. I think this is the best look for Pittsburgh. It's a little bit gimmicky. I don't know how reliant it's going to be, but it gets bigger guys out there. It helps the pass pro up front because I don't think this offensive line is that good. That's why you need these guys out there. But what it also does, too, is it blurs the line between what the Steelers are running. When you get into a bunch of shotgun sets, it becomes obvious, we're passing the ball. What is Rodgers' best trait at this point in his career and has been a staple of his game? It's at play action. And so I just think that this change, getting the big boys out there more, again, they are running two or more tight end personnel lineups more than 50% of the time on offense. I think this is the team's strength. I think it's what they need to keep doing. I'm going to be honest with you, even as a Steelers fan, even as a guy who says they're going to win the AFC North, I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are thoroughly mediocre, but that looks like that's going to be enough to win the division this year and maybe win a playoff game. I'm not going to bet on it. I think I know what the Pittsburgh Steelers are. I think they're 11-6. I think they're a first-round exit. I think they win the North. But I think they've figured out what works for this team and what their strengths are going to be on the offensive side of the ball, and that's encouraging. And Rodgers looks good, and they've been able to keep Rodgers upright. And at this stage in his career, that's kind of all that matters.
Yeah, it's a crazy state of affairs when the Pittsburgh Steelers have a 3.5 game lead on the Baltimore Ravens for the division, but that is where we are right now. They're playing good football, man, and they're not playing great football, that's for sure, and it hasn't been the most impressive 4-1 definitely, and they escaped by the skin of their teeth in a few of these games against the Jets, of course, the Patriots, if not for the 5 turnovers, but they have been able to live off of a lot of these takeaways defensively. We'll see how sustainable that is. But also, the pass rush has definitely picked back up. I mean, they're top 5 in pressure rate again, so that has very much improved as the season has gone along. The defense overall has just been a bit more dynamic and more like what we're used to from them. Offensively, it's an improved group. I still definitely have some questions about them there. Like, I think we have seen them struggle to run the ball as consistently as you would like, just considering that Rodgers does a couple things very well from the quarterback position. He's not built to carry an offense on his back, though, with a lot of volume passing at this point. So I think they're 23rd in yards per play. They're 30th in yards per drive. So again, I think offensively they're living off of some of these short fields from takeaways a little bit overall. But Logan, I know you've had your issues with Perk Rodgers in recent years, and you've protested his way of living. He's a hell of a lot better than what you guys have had. And no, he cannot move for the life of him. He has certainly lost some arm strength when you talk about a deep ball or really any throw far downfield. Yep, there's major regression there. But when it comes to the ability to quickly process the game and when it comes to his accuracy, his ball placement on those short and intermediate throws, the guy is still really damn good. And it's kind of funny how much the numbers fall in line with what you would expect here. He has the second fastest time to throw of any qualified quarterback this year. When he gets the ball out quickly, under 2.5 seconds, he is 6th in EPA per dropback. He's been straight up elite if he's able to get it out quickly. Short, intermediate passes, often to his first read. If it goes beyond that, and if you're now giving the pass rush more time to get home, if things are remotely getting out of structure, 25th in EPA per dropback. So major drop off there, goes from being one of the best when he can do his thing comfortably, get the ball out quickly, to one of the worst when you ask him to extend, improvise, any of that stuff that he's so limited at this point. But man, DK's a monster. I was not a fan of the trade just because it also came with the massive payday and within the context of also letting George Pickens go, who I do still think is better than DK. I just didn't really get the entire thought process there. But regardless of some of the factors about the move that maybe I didn't like as a value proposition, all things considered, DK Metcalf is a baller. He has been balling for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The chemistry that he and Rodgers do have, like if you ever are going to get something of a vertical shot or a downfield pass, just one-on-one, like let's make a play, the ball placement from Rodgers and the ability to create a little bit of separation and then just be athletic, make a play of DK. It's been very impressive. So congrats to your Steelers, Logan. I'm happy for you. Personally, I still don't think it's a lock that they win the division. I'm not going to even talk about the Ravens anymore because I don't think there's anything to be said until Lamar sets foot on the field again. So I'll just leave it at that for now. With the schedules being what they are, 2 head-to-head games between these teams left, very light schedule for the Ravens down the stretch, and the fact that I do think, like you said, the Steelers are a very mediocre football team. I mean, luckily we've reached the point where they're not fooling anybody. We're not getting any more, the Steelers might be contenders takes just because they start
They're getting
10-3 last year.
It's about to happen. Give it
You think
give
it
it
is?
2 weeks. Dude. Oh yeah, if we beat Cincinnati, people are just going to look at, No, I'm so serious. Dude. There is Steelers delirium. It's going to be Rodgers. I don't know what it is, man. I'm already seeing we're getting the sprinkles. You let the Steelers get 2 more wins, people go, they're 7-1, and then you ignore all context, all rationality. People are going to go, Rodgers turning back the clock, Steelers top 10, Super Bowl contenders.
Okay,
that's phony.
Here's the thing, though.
Don't buy into any of that.
All right, but if they got to 7-1, that would mean they beat the Packers and the Colts. So that'd be pretty fucking legit. I don't know. Maybe the Steelers would be legit at that point if they pull that off. It's not going to happen. But I do think that they'll beat the Bengals. But nothing is a given in the AFC North this year. And just generally with the Steelers, they're a weird-ass football team. But I do think Rodgers has worked for them so far. There's a lot of year left for the wheels to come off. But I always liked them getting him just because the alternatives were so shitty and have been so shitty. And I am an Aaron Rodgers guy, Logan. He's a Cal Bears legend. We know what he is at this point. But he's better than Justin Fields. And he's better than Russell Wilson. I'll give you a quarterback, Logan, who changed teams this offseason, who has been really impressive, and whose team has been off to a great start, and whose team I underestimated. The Seattle Seahawks just continue to impress. I think they're the second best team in the NFC West. I think they're really good. Now, maybe some people would just say they're the best team in the NFC West, and I would hear that case, and they very arguably have played like that up to this point. I do believe in the Rams a lot. The Niners are right there. It's just the injury stuff is getting so ridiculous, but there's three really good teams in the NFC West. I want to give credit to the Seahawks, though, because I was sleep on them before the year, and I've given credit to the other two, but they're very impressive. The defense rocks. And that was pretty much expected by me and I think by pretty much everybody. But they've been an elite unit when it comes to generating pressure, fourth in pressure rate, an elite run defense, second in yards per rush attempt allowed. And pass defense, the pass rush in this game against the Jags was just monstrous. They had 7 sacks, and they did that against a group that had allowed very few pressures up to that point on the year. The run defense was dominant. They held ETN for 12 carries, 27 yards. This is a guy who'd been one of the most dynamic running backs in football, a run game that had been among the most effective, and the coverage was pretty good. I mean, it was a really outstanding defensive performance, and they've been doing that.
It's crazy to me that they do this, too, with such a banged-up secondary, coming into this game, too. Like, I think they had 3 starters miss time. Witherspoon, Julian Love, and Reek Woolen, man, crazy. Like to get this pressure and to have a defensive performance like this against Jacksonville with that, with that many starters out, it's super impressive. And McDaniel, he's just a beast. He's so smart. He's the disguises, the deceptive looks he gives guys, the way they've rebuilt this defense through the draft. I'm blown away, man. I was asleep too. I'm not anymore. I can't do it.
No, you cannot sleep anymore, Logan. You cannot slumber any longer because they're just consistently doing really good stuff on the football field. The defense being a lead, again, that was more easy to anticipate. I was low on the Seahawks offense. Like, I think I was lower than most on the Seahawks offense, and they've just been really damn good too. The defense is the strength of this team, but the offense has been really impressive as well. The offensive line has improved more than I gave them credit for. I mean, they're not a upper echelon unit for sure, but they've gotten solid there. Darnold is being pressured less than average. That was not something their offensive line was capable of doing these last couple years. And give credit to the man himself, dude. Darnold, up to this point of the year, just straight up playing like an elite quarterback. And even compared to last year when there were a lot of stretches where he had elite numbers for the Vikings, like, he looks like he's leveled up to me. And he's cleaned up on a couple of things that were really his big issues. He was somebody who had the arm talent, absolutely, to make most of the throws you need him to, and was really good executing out of play action, but he could take a long time to get rid of the football at times, and he took a lot of bad sacks. Well, he's cut down significantly on his time to throw by like 0.3 seconds. It's a big deal. It's a big difference, even if maybe it doesn't sound like it immediately. And he's cut down an insane amount on the sack rate. He has halved his sack rate. So that's where he got exposed at times, especially late in the year. He's totally reduced those negative back-breaking, drive-killing plays, and he's doing everything that he does well at a really high level. I mean, he is slinging the football around the field, and he's got the arm talent, and the accuracy is pretty good, and he's thinking the game at a high level right now. You look at what he's doing on film, you look at all the numbers. I mean, 116 passer rating, leads the NFL in yards per pass attempt. He's getting a lot of love. I don't know if he's getting enough love still, and I absolutely am part of the problem, Logan. I'm the idiot who came out here and said, hey, Geno's better than Darnold. Look at how that's gone for me. Look at what's happened to Geno plushie prices. Look at what's happened to Sam Darnold plushie prices. I'm not super involved in that market, but I can only presume that they've skyrocketed. And that there's massive hordes of fans and harems, and everybody wants a piece of Sammy D's. And can I tell you something, Logan? Add me to the list. I may be late to the party, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to get an invite at all. And you said a similar thing about Diddy parties.
Oh, my gosh. Anyways, I think Darnold's played unreal football. I've been so impressed with him. The arm talent's always been there, but, he just looks so confident and composed now. And I don't think he has more talent than he did in Minnesota or better infrastructure, but it's pretty damn good. JSN's a, top 5, top 3 kind of receiver. Cooper Kupp is a good release valve kind of guy. I like A.J. Barner, but Darnold's the guy making it happen. I mean, they cannot run the ball at all. I think Charbonnet's averaging 2.6 yards per carry. They need to just let K9 go crazy.
Stop giving Charbonnet the ball. K9 rocks.
He does. He's way better. I said McDaniel earlier. I meant Mike McDonald.
It's okay.
Excuse
buddy.
me. Some of my Aaron Rodgers perks slipped into my drink, unfortunately. Just that, it happens after you go to the Steelers game. Happens to everybody. I just wanted to say, when you compare a guy like McDonald, who is missing all these pieces in the secondary, and it's not like they have zeros out there. Like Kobe Bryant, shout out. He's a beast. He's a really good player in the secondary.
35 points per game in 06. I've seen that a handful of times in league history.
When you're missing that much talent on the backside and you have guys that can step up, it really does just speak to a guy that has the defense in order, that guys know their jobs, rock solid scheme. Like, it's a hallmark of a really well-coached defense. And shout out. The Seahawks have had such a good turnaround. And I was wrong on their top 10 on both sides of the ball in terms of points for and points against right now. Like, Seahawks have it going on. And obviously, I think the defense is the strength of their team right now. But if Darnold keeps playing like this, Seattle could win a playoff game for damn sure, man. Like, they are.
Absolutely.
They're in their stride. They look like a top 10 team right now.
They totally do. And, with the Wild West we're seeing in the NFL on both coasts, in both conferences, why can't they do more than that? I mean, the defense is going to remain elite. The offense is going to hinge on Darnold. 6 weeks of football, he's been pretty consistently awesome. And I can't really understand why, I assume we're about to talk about this man because I know how much you love him. Baker Mayfield is all the rage for MVP right now, and Darnold is getting zero buzz. I'm not saying that Baker doesn't deserve a ton of attention and MVP shout-outs and all of that, but I'd argue that Darnold has been slightly better overall this year. And yes, Baker won their head-to-head duel. Sure, that's part of it. I mean, he's got one more win on the season, and he's got all these memorable clutch drives. But as we've talked about, those clutch drives early in the year, first 3 games, were partly a product of his own inconsistencies through the first 3 quarters, playing some very close games against some so-so teams. Darnold, I just think, has been consistently dealing across all 6 games, a little bit more consistently. But regardless, it's like Baker is at the top of these conversations. Darnold isn't even getting mentioned. I think he should be in the MVP conversation right now, and I do think there was some buzz for that last year in Minnesota, and the numbers were great, but you had to understand the context, the KOC, the elite receiving core. I don't think he has as much help in Seattle. I do think Clint Kubiak is very good, and JSN is an absolute monster. Last week I said JSN might be a top 5 receiver. JSN is a top 5 receiver. I'm ready to say it. He's stamped. I mean, he's been the most productive in football now. Obviously, Puka missed a fair bit of the game this past week, but he's been the most explosive receiver in the sport, bar none. He has 13 catches of 20-plus yards. That is 3 more than anybody else. Second place, Logan, your beloved George Pickens, and my beloved George Pickens now because he and Dak have a romantic connection. 40-plus yard receptions. JSN has 5. Nobody else has more than 2. There has not been a better vertical threat, just absolutely dusting people downfield than JSN. It's not even close in that regard, and so he has absolutely made Darnold's life a whole lot better. But Seattle keeps taking care of business. They lost a real close one to Tampa, obviously, last week, but they played the Jags, my beloved Jags, and they just flat out looked like the better team. Jacksonville, there's still some inconsistencies there. BTJ has a bad drop on a huge 3rd down. Of course he does. Brenton Strange has a bad drop. I don't know. I like the Jags. Obviously, I've been a huge advocate of theirs, but there are some of these just critical moments where you just wish they were a little sharper and a little more consistent. Travis Hunter lines up offsides. That cost them a 55-yard touchdown. They end up getting it anyways, but it's man, you guys are supposed to be premier players. Let's act like it. I'd like to see that a little bit more, but I did think Liam Cohen was cooking, even though they only put up 12 points. I thought he had a couple really good play calls in that game, but Seattle just looked better, and so they have absolutely surpassed Jacksonville in my contender rankings. Give me one more takeaway, Logan, before we get into those contender rankings real quick.
I've been alluding to this all episode. I think the Buccaneers have the NFL's deepest and best offense. I mean, I just don't know what else they need to do. Like, no Irving, no Evans, no Godwin. Don't matter. They got Baker, and Baker put them on their back. I will say, you're right. I don't think Baker had a great start to the season. He has been absolutely phenomenal these last 2 weeks. The self-creation stuff is unbelievable to me, where, like, one, Baker's just got huge balls. Like, you got to be some kind of audacious to even try the shit he did, where he gets wrapped up. It's like any smart guy is going down. But Baker is smart, but he's reckless.
Oh, yeah.
And he just gets out, makes a play. It's superhuman stuff that Baker didn't used to do.
So far, Logan, that 3rd and 14 scramble, I think it was.
I think so.
And especially if you can combine it and get some sort of points booster with the fact that then he fucking launched a 50-yard bomb to Tez Johnson on the very next play. It's one of the great two-play sequences you'll ever see. But the 3rd and 14, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's not just that he gets out of the sack where there's multiple massive human beings trying to bring him to the ground. Then he still has to make another dude miss before the first down marker. Then he's got to extend to get it. I mean, he's just a complete psychopath.
He is a psychopath, man. He's a gamer. The reason I say, one, I don't know if it's a question that they're the deepest. This team has consistently produced, this doesn't include Baker, but like the depth guys, behind Bucky, you got Rashad White and Sean Tucker, wideout, Tez Johnson, Sterling Shepard, Abuka, obviously. Like,
Jalen McMillan's going to come back at some point.
McMillan, so super deep. The thing to me that is the separator, though, and the reason that I was pounding the drum last show with Matt for the Bucs potentially being the best offense is some of the stuff you were talking about with. Now I would hear an argument for Detroit, of course. I think Detroit is definitely in these conversations. I think Buffalo is too. The difference to me is like the level of confidence I have in the play calling, honestly, bro. Like, I obviously with Buffalo, like I'd hear the argument, Josh Allen over Baker Mayfield. Obviously, that's an easy case to make. I don't ever get nervous about Tampa Bay making the wrong call or not weaponizing their playmakers enough, right? Like, I just trust Tampa Bay to always come up with a great game plan. And also, on top of that, I think Tampa Bay has a borderline elite offensive line. Wirfs and Barton are two of the best at their position in all of the NFL. They're great in the passing, great in pass pro. They're great in run protection too, and they just consistently produce. So, like, against some of these other top offenses that we might talk about, yes, obviously I still think there's a gap between Baker and Josh. There's a gap between Baker and Mahomes. But when I look at these offenses in totality, I think Tampa Bay's got the best. I think they're the deepest and best offense in the NFL. And, like, when we factor in consistency, it's Tampa Bay to me, man. I think they have, as of right now, again, it's competitive. I'd hear arguments for other teams. I would take Tampa Bay over anybody else.
Logan Camden, you're looking at the man who said this exact thing before the year. Now, I didn't say that they were the best offense in football. I said that they were going to be a top 3 offense, and they were the most stacked offense in football when you go position to position. And, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's either them or Detroit, but it's pretty ludicrous depth that they have everywhere. And I do think that's maybe being underrated right now. People who are making it out to be Baker versus the world, Baker stepping up with no help. It's like, he actually does still have quality football players on the field. People are like, oh, he's down his starting running back. Yeah, Rashad White is a starting caliber running back in the NFL, I do believe. And obviously, being without all 3 of your top receivers by the end of this game is crazy. But there's nobody who's got a better 4 through 6 in terms of receivers in the NFL. So that's important to consider. What Baker's doing is wildly impressive, but it's like you said, dude, at full strength, no, this team is elite everywhere. They lost Liam Cohen, but I have been impressed with Grizzard overall. The run game hasn't been the same as what it was last year, and the offense overall hasn't been as good as what it was last year when they were putting up 30 points per game, and I thought they'd do that again this year because you're adding an Emeka Ibuka. The offense also hasn't been nearly as healthy, though. The offensive line has been totally banged up. I think at full strength, they're a top 5 offensive line. The receiving core, I think, is the best in football at full strength. It hasn't been close to that. The running back room is one of the best. So, yes, there's absolutely so much here that should make this one of the elite offenses in football. The irony is, I don't think we've fully seen that yet, as it feels like everybody is super high on the Bucs right now. But I do think people also understand the context of, okay, here they are. They're putting up over 27 points per game. They're 5-1, and they haven't had all their guys out there on the field. So, I don't think it's at all a ludicrous take. I think the Bucs at full strength are absolutely in that tier of the elite offenses that we've been talking about throughout the show. Are they the best? I don't know if I can get there. I don't know if Baker's quite consistent enough for me to say that, but they have the potential to be that. I do want to give them some credit for their defense in this game, though. I thought that they were very impressive in terms of how they game planned for a Niners offense that had been able to find a lot of success. They forced Mac Jones to push the ball downfield more. They went away from the more conservative shell looks that a lot of other teams went with that were allowing Mac to get the ball out in under 2.5 seconds underneath stuff, and that's where he'd been really successful. I mean, especially last week, they gave their pass rush a little more time to get home against a guy who can't create out of structure against an offensive line that really isn't that good in pass protection, and their pass rush got home in a big way, man. 6 sacks. The theme of the week was sacks. There were a lot of sacks going around, and Mac Jones took a lot of them. So also 2 interceptions. They just were able to force more mistakes and make Mac more uncomfortable than anybody else had. Todd Bowles is really, really good. So this defense, it has its flaws, definitely, when you look at some of the pass defense, secondary stuff. But they do have a great defensive coach. They do have a shit ton of offensive talent, and I think that they have the potential to hit their stride even more as the season goes along. So I'll give one last shout out here for my final takeaway. I talked about Baker's kind of the leading candidate for MVP right now, it feels like. If the award were to be given out today, I think Darnold should be getting more love. I also think Justin Herbert should be getting more love. So if you thought you were going to get away with a week without Herbert Glaze, you were sorely mistaken. He made one of the plays of the season to somehow escape what is a 99% sack, get the ball out to Ladd McConkey, game-winning play. He's just been so insanely impressive to me, dude. He has been one of the most pressured quarterbacks in football. He is playing with an abysmal offensive line. Like, even the Bucs backups, man, and they've got some backups in there. Like, overall, the offensive line is still playing pretty solidly right now. The Chargers' offensive line has been an abomination, and somehow, under all this pressure, Herbert is still making big-time throws. He is still avoiding taking sacks at like an impressive rate when you consider the context. He's taken a decent amount, but I don't know, his pressure to sack rate is still quite good. And now he's got no running backs. Omarion Hampton's out. Najee Harris is out, and still finds a way to put up 29 points, win this football game. I will take the Glaze a step further. I thought he played about as good a game as a quarterback can in a 10-point performance against Washington. Like, he wasn't perfect in that game, but I don't know. He's playing football on the highest difficulty setting that there is, as I've said. And I just think 5 out of 6 games this year, guy's been pretty damn good overall. Giants game was the exception. He's playing the game at a really, really high level. And I don't think the numbers will fully reflect just how impressive it's been because the circumstances around him are so shitty. We talk about the Chargers defense normally being a strength. I thought that they were really bad against the Dolphins. And I think they've slipped up a little bit in the last couple weeks. And I think Herbert having this team at 4-2 with everything that has crumbled around him is a testament to just how elite he is and the level he's playing at.
Hey, man, shout out Kamani Vidal, though. He balled out.
He did ball out, indeed. Shout out to him, and shout to McConkey the Honky, and shout out to Rico Dowdle for one of the great revenge games and back-to-back monster performances, Logan. And shout out to Drake May for absolutely slinging that shit once again, even though it was against the Saints. My God, him and Kayshon Boutte are looking like, I don't know, prime Josh and Diggs out there, I was going to say. Drake May deserves any great comp, man. I mean, he does literally have Diggs on his team. But, yeah, special connection there. Drake May's balling out. I'm going to retract that, okay? I glazed Drake May. I'm not going to just give out a peak Josh Diggs comp like that, okay?
Nah,
it's
that
too much,
fired
even
me
though I was
up.
deliberately being hyperbolic.
That was sick.
No, I was going to say like the greatest quarterback receiver tandem ever, like Peyton Marv or something. And then I was like, no, that's just not how they play at all. That's just not how Drake May plays at all. But Logan, it's been a bad enough night on the Bills front. I don't need to go inflating Drake May's ego anymore, even though I'm absolutely part of the Drake May propaganda machine, even as a Bills fan. And how do I live with that? Well, it's something I struggle to sleep with every night, Logan. It really is. Especially now that technically the Patriots lead the division. They will not win the division. But what can you say that's good about the Buffalo Bills right now? Not much. That being said, they're still going to be in our contender rankings. So we've yapped a fair bit already. Let's kind of breeze through these. Who is in your 10 spot right now, Logan? And just as a reminder for everybody, we say contender rankings because these are not power rankings in the sense of who's the best right now. This is long-term. You get to the playoffs. Who do you believe is the best when it matters most? There's some projection involved. Who is the 10th team for you right now?
You know, I said this earlier. I wanted to leave them off my list. Number 10, 2 weeks, go from 1 to 10. I've got the Philadelphia Eagles.
Wow.
I don't believe in the viability of this offense right now. I think they need an offensive coordinator change or something drastic. I wanted to leave them off my list entirely, but they are too talented to omit, and I think they're talented enough to where I could see a turnaround with the offense. So this, ladies and gentlemen, is what is called hedging your bets. I shit on them. I drop them 9 spots. They still end up in my top 10 because maybe it happens. I do want to give an honorable mention. The Pats, I really considered for this spot. I really like what the Pats have going on. I considered your Jacksonville Jaguars, Liam Cohen.
Thank you.
I considered my Pittsburgh Steelers, and very briefly like the Broncos and the Chargers, but those not as serious. This was more just an honorable mention for the Patriots and Jaguars because I did think they had a real opportunity here, but Philly still has the reputation, and so because of that, they will end up in my 10 spot.
You are way out on Philly. You're acting like you're giving them some credit having them at 10. That is a low ranking for the Eagles when you consider the talent they still have on the football team and what they accomplished very recently. I can't get there. I can't be that concerned about them right now, although I am concerned about them. In my number 10 spot, I've got a team that's got bigger issues, terrible offensive line, running backs all died, as I was just talking about. I have the Chargers here. I still think that Herbert playing like clearly a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. And I do like Jesse Minter a lot as a defensive mind. I think the defense can and will play better than they have the last couple weeks. I like that formula enough to keep them at number 10, but they are fighting an uphill battle in a big way in the trenches and everything offensively around Herbert. Like, the receiving core is good, but the offensive line is just so brutal that I can't put them higher than this. They're not a team that I can really see stringing off a big run, because at some point an offensive line being that bad is going to come back to bite you. Now, to be fair, the offensive line can get healthier, should get healthier. Slater's not coming back. Joe Alt should, and that situation should improve, but it's just too concerning for me to have them higher than this. So who's in your 9 spot, Logan?
We talked about them extensively. I've got the Seattle Seahawks, top 10 on both sides of the ball. Defense I really believe in. Jason's balling. Darnold solid. I think the Seahawks are just a really freaking solid team, man.
I have the Seahawks at number 9 as well. I think there's an argument to have them higher. Now, I can't get there just because I don't know that the offense is good enough. The offensive line is still just okay. The run game is still kind of an issue for them. And ultimately, a lot does rest on Darnold's shoulders here. And as well as he's playing, I don't have the faith in Sam Darnold that I would probably need to be like, yeah, he's going to carry this offense to be good enough all year, no exceptions, to have this team higher than this. But the defense is great. The offense has been good. Darnold, JSN, we've talked about all this stuff that's going really right for them. I think that they've earned a spot here. And the defense is bankable. It really is. That's going to win them a fair number of games as long as the offense can at least stay solid. Who's in your 8 spot, Logan?
I've got the Washington Commanders here at number 8. I think they have a chance to climb higher and higher on this list. Disappointing loss against Chicago, obviously, but they've got a quarterback that I really believe in as an offensive engine in this league. I think he is so special. This is mostly a Jaden Daniels bet, but you look at some of the areas where maybe they were lacking last season. I think their defensive front and defensive line have gotten better. They're a little old, which I don't love about Washington. That's one of my things. Like, I think sometimes they can be a little bit slow, but I think they've got one of the elite offenses in the game, a great offensive line, maybe the best rushing attack in football. I don't know if I could say that because they just don't have one of those like big time difference makers like Bijan or
like
JT.
Last week.
I did.
You don't know if you can say it. You did say it.
I did say it. I'll say top 5. But I like Washington a lot. I think they're going to look better. They let this one slip through their fingers. I'm banking on Washington climbing my list as the season goes along. So they're here at number 8 for me.
Known commie Logan Camden rides with the commies. I can't hate on it. I don't have Washington here. Ultimately, I'm still just quite underwhelmed, I guess I would say, by the defense. Now, it's been better than I expected because I was really worried about it coming into the year. I agree. I mean, the pass rush has definitely been better than I expected up front. They've been better than I expected overall. At the same time, I still think that they're pretty mediocre. I still think the secondary is bad. I still think the run defense has been average. So I just don't quite have enough confidence in them on both sides of the ball to have them in my top 10. But the offense is quite good, and so I see the argument for them being here. In my number 8 spot, though, I'm going to go with another offense that's been even better. Comes a point, Logan, where you just got to get the Colts on your list. And I've been the biggest Jags guy. I've been saying Jags will once again rule the AFC South, take us back to the late 90s. Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, and the boys. They have the potential. It's still close for me, but they do fall out of my top 10, just barely. And the Colts do climb in. It's just been more consistent. And I don't think we can expect the bottom to fall out on Danny Dimes at this point. Like, his play hasn't been quite as sparkling as it was the first few weeks of the year, and I think that that is reasonable to expect, like, him to just put up pretty good numbers, not perfect numbers. You've seen a couple more questionable decisions, but overall, just leading like one of the best offenses in football, arguably, statistically up to this point, the best offense in football on the year, with great play in the trenches, great receivers, great play calling, great run game, and Danny Jones playing pretty well at the quarterback position. We can't just say he's a system merchant. When you look at what he's done under pressure, like, he's been an important part of this equation. And then defensively, I think Lou Anarumo has definitely done a nice job making the most out of this talent. I am maybe not as sold on the defense as some others are. I just don't think that they're the most talented, and I think this performance against the Cardinals is a little concerning. They got marched on. The Rams game, they got marched on. Like, when they've played good offenses, they've encountered some problems. They've improved on that side of the ball. That's where I think they ultimately hit their head on their ceiling. That and the fact that I can only believe so much in Daniel Jones. I am not a true believer, Logan. Absolutely, I'm not. I'm something of a convert, but I'm a reluctant convert to the Daniel Jones cause, and I think I'm still less devout than most, for sure. I have my skepticism with him, even though he's playing very well.
I got the Colts at 7. I think they're really balanced. That's what I like about Indianapolis. Doesn't feel like anybody's overtasked, stressed out. Daniel Jones is in control, and yeah, they're really, really balanced. I agree with you. I think there's an ultimate ceiling with Indianapolis where this might be as high as they can climb for me in reality, even as good as they are the rest of the year. Like, just out of respect for some of the game's top players, for teams that are just better in two ways, but the Colts are really solid. I couldn't leave them off my list. They've been in my power rankings since pretty early on, and I've got them number 7. But like I said, this might be the ceiling for Indianapolis.
Colts fans, I get it if you want to be higher. You're leading the league in point differential. You're 5-1. Like, you've been very dominant. But I do just want to see it against more really good teams. That's kind of what it comes down to. And there's a couple of the concerns that I mentioned about how good is the defense really, and how good is Daniel Jones really going to be when it comes to reliability against very good defenses, very good football teams. There's just a couple concerns there. At number 7, I have the team that beat the Colts. I have the Rams here, who I could be talked into having a little higher. There's a lot that I like about them. Ultimately, I feel similarly about them as I really have all year. They've consistently been in this range for me in my power rankings. The quarterback play is great. The receiver duo is awesome. The play calling is really good. The run game is very solid here. The pass rush is great. But I do worry about the secondary with them. And I just don't think that they are like one of the powerhouse offenses in football. They're 11th in points per drive, give you 23 points per game. Like, I don't know. They're just not quite good enough in the trenches, good enough in the run game for me to have them right now above some of these other teams that I do feel like have really dynamic attacks in both of those ways. But the defensive potential is there because of the pass rush. I'm right there with the Rams. You know, we're now at the point where it's like once you go 7 and up, I can kind of see you talking yourself into anybody as being pretty much at the top of this list. 8 through 10, the Colts, the Seahawks, they've sold me. The Chargers, I just have a certain amount of faith in, but I do still mostly hold true to kind of my preseason expectations. Like nobody's really moved me enough to totally move off of that. And so there is a element of talent and faith that I'm going to bank on. And the Rams are part of that group, but they haven't really shown me enough to elevate within that group. So who's in your 6th spot, Logan?
I've got your Buffalo Bills here in my 6th spot. Admittedly, I'll put my hand up. If the Bills had handled business and beaten Atlanta, I probably would have had them number 2. That's how I was feeling coming into this week. I thought the offense was going to be dominant, just mow over Atlanta. It's not how it looked. The defense looks like shit. We talked about it all at the top. There's flags with everybody in the league right now, but Buffalo's defense scares me, and that's been my red flag about this team. I think Josh is going to figure it out. I think the offense is going to look better. The defense legitimately scares me, and when I look at every team in the top 6, I think the Bills have the worst defense out of the group, so that's why they're here.
It's very fair, dude. I have them at number 4. I could easily have them at 7. I'm also concerned about the defense. I'm not sold on anything with the defense. The run defense is terrible, and we've talked about that, but the corner situation isn't good. Trey White's playing just way too many snaps. He needs Max Hairston to come in and fountain of youth, just upgrade him, the substance. Let's get a better, younger, sexier version of Trey White, please. In Max Hairston, that'd be great. Safety situation, still don't like. Pass rush is okay. Like, it's the same old story. I just do think the offense can and will play so much better than they have, and I think that they will be the best offense in football. And if you're tired of me saying that because the last 2 weeks they haven't looked like that, it's fine. I get it, but that is my belief, and so I'm going to stick with that. I have the Bucs at 6 here. I think the offense is great with them too. I think the defense maybe has a little bit more potential, but it's still pretty damn flawed. I mean, I do think that I like Todd Bowles more as a defensive play caller than McDermott, and I think he's able to dial up pressures where even though the Bucs don't have that one guy, they blitz a fair bit. They're able to get a good bit of pressure, but nevertheless, I do have some concerns about their defense. I think they're pretty mediocre on that side of the ball. So if it comes down to which offense do I believe in more, I am still going to give the edge to the Bills and Josh Allen and the consistency of the quarterback play there. But I'd have no problem with anybody having the Bucs above them because, yeah, the offense can be great and the defensive ceiling maybe is a little bit higher. But they're both flawed enough there where I'll take the Bills.
And they are. That's why I got the Bucs at 5. We just flop on that one. I think they got the best offense in football. It's the pass defense like you were talking about earlier. I really like the run defense when you got Vita Vea blowing shit up in the middle. But, yeah, they lack that really high-impact pass rusher. I agree with you. Bowles is good at designing up like those creative, deceptive disguises where like it's a safety or a corner coming off the edge. But it's the pass defense and then the lack of that really high-end edge rusher, but Bucs are really solid. So they're going to end up at 5 for me.
I have the Eagles at 5. Tough team to rank. I don't think that they've earned this ranking this year, but I think there's a few teams in my top 5 that you would say haven't earned their ranking this year. It's been that kind of year, as we've said a million times. So I am going to say there's enough talent here to believe in enough of an offensive bounce back. There's enough defensive talent here to think that they'll be more dominant on that side of the ball, and say the best version of this team can just reach another level than the team like the Bucs can in terms of their two-way potential as a team that can really be quite good on both sides of the football. But I know that you're very low on them. I know that you are hitting the panic button with the offense, and I do understand that. But I just think everybody's fucking really flawed this year. So I don't know. Philly just won the Super Bowl. Not that much has changed since then.
Yeah, I've got the Rams here. I think they do have one of those really high two-way ceilings, kind of like you were talking about earlier with Verse. He kicks them up a notch in my book. They have a red flag, too. Their red flag is the secondary. Like, I think it is a massive, massive concern for them with their personnel. But I think the offense can look better. I think they can just do a better job of putting the ball actually in the end zone. They're great at moving the ball and having these really long, sprawling drives. They just need to finish them. So I think the Rams actually have a little bit more an offensive ceiling to tap into, but they need to address the secondary as well. But great coach, great quarterback, solid defense. I'll take that over some of the other options. So I got the Rams at 4.
I have Buffalo at 4, as I said. So my number 3 is Detroit. Again, you look at them and you're like, you saw some great weeks. I mean, there was a pretty dominant 4-week stretch from them. And that sandwiched between a couple of really bad losses to like the 2 actually really good teams that they've played. Again, I don't even know what to do with the Ravens. The Ravens are not in my power rankings. I just don't think you can justify it at this point. My contender rankings, I should say, because they have the potential, but they are 1-5 right now. But that's easily the best win of the year for the Lions. Yeah, they beat up on the Bears, who have looked better, but they beat up on the Browns. They beat up on the Bengals. So maybe they haven't really sold you in terms of beating the good competition, but I do think for the most part they've looked like the Lions of the last couple years. They've gotten back to being dominant in the trenches, dominant in the run game, dominant play action, passing attack, intermediate. But you've also seen when they go up against the Packers, they go up against the Chiefs, if you can contain the run game, if you can force them into more of a pure drop back passing game, they're not as dynamic there, so they're not as versatile offensively. But where I do like them more than the Bills, for example, or the Bucs, I do think they have more defensive talent than either of those groups. Now, the injury bug destroyed them defensively last year. It's gotten them again this past week, but I think the talent at every level, up front, linebackers, secondary, it's just way better than what you have with Buffalo or Tampa Bay. So that's why I still have them in my 3 spot.
Well said. I don't have a ton to add. That's the difference maker to me. I think Hutchinson, Branch, Kirby Joseph, there's just more difference makers on Detroit's defense. And the offense has been as consistent as anybody has been to start the season. So I completely agree.
So do you have Detroit at 3 as well?
Yep.
So who's in your 2 spot, Logan?
I have got the Green Bay Packers in my 2 spot. This is a little bit deliberate because, like I said, I know my mystical powers. I know whoever I put at number 1 is coming toppling down. So I've done this strategically. Sorry, Peyton. Wow. Sorry, Gabe. I got you guys. Green Bay's really solid. I'm waiting for them to put all of it together. A ton of depth offensively in terms of their wide receiving core. Still one of the youngest teams in the league. Great coach, great quarterback I believe in. Huge difference maker on the defensive side of the ball in Micah Parsons, and just really good depth everywhere, man. I feel like Green Bay is doesn't have the most overwhelming talent, but I think they're more solid than a lot of teams. But there's one more team that I believe in more than Green Bay.
What a weird time to do contender rankings, dude. I have the Packers at number 2 as well. The other reason that you couldn't put the Packers at number 1 is you already hit them with the curse. You already put them number 1, and that's when they lost to the Browns. So you can't do that to them twice in the first 6 weeks of the year. That would be ungentlemanly, Logan. And if there's one thing that you are, you may be a pervert, you may be a scoundrel, but you're also a gentleman. And that's the complexity and the enigma that makes you so interesting and so compelling to me as a character. I really do like the Packers, but they're inconsistent. And after like the 2 most dominant, impressive performances of the year that they got off to this great, phenomenal start with. A loss to the Browns, a tie against the Cowboys, and I didn't think they looked that great against the Bengals. Like, they took care of business. I think this defense is phenomenal. I think this defense is probably a top 3 defense in football. And I think the offense can be very, very good. The play calling is great. The quarterback has a lot of potential and high highs. The run game hasn't been as great as last year, but I think that they can be very, very good there. And there's a lot of receiver depth, like you say. All the ingredients are there for the Packers to be a dominant team, and for that reason, they probably have the highest ceiling in the NFL. But Jordan Love, just like a really dumb, bad pick this week, and he's just not as consistent as the best of the best. So I remain a Packers stockholder, as I was adamantly before the year. I think that they're a really awesome football team overall on both sides of the ball, but is the offense and the quarterback play quite consistent enough to have them as my number 1 team? Not when I know what I'm getting from Patrick Mahomes in the 3-3 Kansas City Chiefs, Logan. That's where this football season has us. We're just defaulting to what we know and saying, yeah, they've won 3 of them games this year, but also Super Bowls, and so they're the best. Yeah.
It's like Finding Nemo. All drains lead to the ocean. All weeks lead to the Chiefs being number 1 in your power rankings. It's inevitable. Yeah, that was my conclusion. Ultimately, what team do I have the most faith in? Somehow I circled back to Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs, and it infuriates me. I wanted to put anybody else number 1. My gut says it's still Kansas City. The offense has really had a big turnaround. That's the big story. I think the defense has still kind of been a little disappointing from what their standard has been the last 3 seasons. But when I look across, they have one of the offenses I believe in most. They still have the quarterback I believe in most in a big spot. And the defense can be schemed up enough to have solid enough output. So, yeah, the 500 Kansas City Chiefs top my list, man. How about that?
Yeah, it feels super weird. I don't know that it really makes sense. I do feel like maybe there is an element of just whoever's hitting their stride and whoever looks really good right now. When you're uncertain about everything else, you'll default to that team. But also, like the proven track record, it means something. You know, in a big game, they've been the team to beat in recent years, and it's kind of like, who is compelling you enough to think that's different right now? Who's looked good enough to unseat them there when they are really hitting their stride and they are really playing great football right now? So they've lost 3 games. They were 3 close games to 3 good teams. They've got a couple quality wins on the year. The offense looks great. The defense doesn't. The defense just looks okay. But, I mean, we've seen them elevate defensively before, and I just compare them to everybody else around, and it's like, yeah, the Packers and Lions can have the higher ceilings, and they also have questions that concern me more than any question I could have about a Kansas City Chiefs team that has just won so damn much for the last 7 years and is about to get back one of their best players. I'd love to say it's the Bills. I'm just way more worried about the Bills defense than I am the Chiefs defense, even though neither of them have been particularly inspiring. And so this is where we end up, Logan. Kansas City Chiefs number 1. That's interesting that we have the same top 3. I can't imagine that's very common around the league right now because there is so much chaos going on, but we are a hive mind here, Logan. Shout out to Hive Mind. The NFL is going through a fever dream. We're kind of going through a fever dream on this very episode. It's 2:30 a.m. for Logan. I've been moving all day. It's a Monday night recording. We're all out of our element here. We hope this episode still made sense and was enjoyable, and you guys didn't so much mind me insinuating that Logan was a white supremacist pervert freak, Colonel Lockjaw. I don't really feel that way about my good buddy. The things I really feel about him are much more personal, and I won't be saying them on a microphone right now. But we hope this was an enjoyable episode for you guys all the same. And if you want more of our content, you know where to find it all across our YouTube channel. We've got all of our full episodes, NFL stuff, NBA season preview content. You thought we were just going to talk about every team in the NBA and that was going to be it? No, we've already done that. Now we've got guests coming. Now we've got other fun things coming. Hopefully I'll have a video about preseason takeaways because you can only learn so much from preseason basketball, but you can learn a little something. So all of that is still coming. award predictions, all of that is going to be handled before the season gets started. And once the season gets started, we don't stop, Logan. We're just like hamsters running on our wheels. We go, go, go. So that's all on YouTube, and you can listen to all of our full episodes across all audio platforms. And you can follow us across social if you like: TikTok, Instagram at NerdSesh, Twitter at Nerd_Sesh to see graphics from the show, clips from the show, and all of our short-form trivia content. You can also leave as many hate comments there as you want about the fact that I personally don't really enjoy Eric Collins' style of commentary. Please, more. Please, more. Please, more hate. And thank you very much for that. And with that, as always, we appreciate you guys. I've been Carson Brabber.
I've been Logan Camden.
And this was Nerd Sesh.